Hello, Christine. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you today.
Thank you, Mary. I love what your podcast is all about. I have a lot to say, so I'll try to keep it succinct.
Yay! As I always say, it's a lot easier to pull it back than to kind of, pack it in. So
That's true.
I love that you have a lot to say because I am really looking forward to listen and learning from you because you have a really diverse skill set. You're a photographer, you're an author, you're a podcaster. Can you tell us how all this came to be and what inspired you to dive into everything that you're doing?
Sure. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing too many things right now, and I'll elaborate on that more of like focus and knowing where things fit in your life. My background, I grew up in a science family. My parents, they own a biotech company in Silicon Valley. And growing up, my sister and I would work with them. It was kind of expected that we would take over the company when we grew up. I always felt like a fish out of water being a creative soul. I, like I worked with them for a long time. Excuse me, I kind of have a runny nose. Sorry about this.
No worries.
You don't have to cut that out. Okay. Just don't want to be sniffling this whole time. Yeah, so I did. It's pretty more conservative and corporate. So the trade shows, wearing the slacks and button-up shirt. I always felt like a fish out of water.
Hmm.
I am very grateful that I had my parents as a role model to teach me about business or just watching them build. I watched them build two different companies in Silicon Valley, and those skills are invaluable to me.
Hmm.
I joke, but I think it'd be true if I didn't have them as parents. I'd probably be like a hippie skipping in a field doing I don't know what. So they definitely gave me some structure.
Mhm.
They taught me how to make money. Making money feels very easy to me. I have a lot of confidence in that area.
Mm.
So I did. I worked with them up until I would say on and off until I was about 25. But I knew in my soul, when things, something until it hits a certain point when there's a breaking point. Like I
Mm.
can't do this anymore. I'm too miserable.
Mm.
So I knew at a certain point that I wanted to pursue photography. Photography had been a hobby up until that point, but it lit me up. I could
Mm.
feel it with every ounce of my body, and I could see, some people, they can hear things, some people can see it. I could see that there was something for me there.
Hmm.
And specifically with wedding photography at this time, I liked telling these love stories. I was always very drawn to connection between humans, not just the bride and groom, but families as well. So I could see it intuitively. My photography style is more, it's moments, it's very candid, and I could feel it, and I could see that microsecond that freezes that moment that's so meaningful to someone and also meaningful to me.
Mm.
And so it was very clear what I wanted to do. It just came down to communicating that with my parents. So at one point, I did. I cried. It's very awkward. My parents, uh, my background's Chinese,
Mhm.
Cantonese, and they're not super emotional in that way. So it's an awkward conversation, and
Yeah.
I felt bad. I felt guilt, but I went into my mom's office and I said, "Hey, I want to move. I don't want to work here anymore. I want to move to LA. I don't want to pursue photography."
Hmm. That's
And
a very brave conversation to have.
yeah, but I just knew I had to do it. It's uncomfortable, but it was my truth.
Mhm.
And then, so I went, and my parents overall, I know that's probably not their ideal, what they wanted, but they always been pretty good about like, okay, if you're gonna go, you're gonna go. They didn't yell at me. They didn't do anything. They're just like, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so I pursued wedding photography specifically, and I did it for 15 years. I still do photography, but it's more corporate now, corporate and families. I go for more ease now. Weddings are beautiful, but they're very, it takes a lot of mental capacity. The people care, obviously, as they
Yeah.
should. And I think when I was younger, I had the energy for it and I could hop on airplanes and do the thing. And now I'm like, I think I just want a little more ease. So the corporate, same thing. I could story tell. I love giving people a great headshot. I love the paychecks.
Right.
Um, but it gives now just moving it more to something that takes a little more mental load. I can do other things like
Mm.
write. I published a book during the pandemic and I started a podcast.
Oh.
And yeah, and all this is self-expression, right? All these things that I'm choosing to do is self-expression, which I don't feel like I had it working biotech growing up with my parents.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that seems to be the common thread is relationships, connection, and self-expression. It's
Oh,
very important to me.
I love that. How did you get introduced to photography? When
Uh,
did you pick up the camera and how did that all happen?
my mom actually bought me an SLR camera for my birthday.
It was her fault. Just kidding.
I know. I was like, "Well, you bought me the camera." But I've always had a creative streak in me. I always like to take pictures since I was a kid, with our 90s little point and shoot cameras. I was always very sentimental. And
Mm.
so she bought me the camera, and I could not put it down when she
Mm.
bought it for me. So I knew like this is an interest of
Yeah.
mine. And it almost came from, I mean, I have a lot of interest, but it was almost like it came through me, like my self-expression that I could just see and freeze these moments that it's really nice when you have that clarity because you
Yes.
know exactly where to go. And that is very refreshing. And I've been in a place where I haven't had that clarity.
Mhm.
Might right now, maybe still, I'm kind of going through like a midlife transition. So I'm kind of, navigating that right now. But it's so refreshing when you do have that. You feel it with every cell in your body.
Yeah, it seems like God or the universe is like conspiring for you when that happens. Like things come easily, and I think like you're just in the moment. I feel that too in certain parts of my life. One area is cooking, where I just know like this is what's gonna taste good if I add this onto this dish.
Do you
Yeah,
enjoy cooking?
I love cooking, and I love watching people eat and enjoy the food. I think that's the best part.
Oh, I love that. I wish I loved cooking, but I don't. It's such a treat. It's such a treat for yourself, and I could see how it's meditative. There's creativity in it, connection, and like
Mhm.
you said, it's a way of showing your love to people.
Yes, it is. So photography sort of is like the conduit of or it's what started everything really. Is that true? Because then that's where the book came and the podcast came from. Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes. So I photographed weddings for about 15 years. And then at the same time, I was blogging. So I would share my photography work, but my
Oh.
blog was very personal. So I would also talk about my personal growth, my dating life at the time, before I was married, like the struggles I would have, talking about relationships, connection. And I think that's why a lot of people hired me was for this humanness and vulnerability
Oh.
behind my work because a pretty photo is a dime a dozen, especially with like technology nowadays.
Mhm.
Pretty photo is a dime a dozen. It's the feeling behind it. I think that's why, well, the people who hire me, that's why they hire me. And so I did write a lot. And then when the pandemic hit, it was kind of a blessing in a sense for me that it nudged me because I had considered years before that I don't think I want to do wedding photography forever,
Mhm.
but I'm known in this area. I get paid well in this area. So it's scary to take that leap and not, but I don't know what's next. And
Right.
so I continue taking the gigs, when they're offering you, good money, it's
Yeah.
hard to say no. And then the pandemic hit and all events were canceled.
Hmm.
So I thought, what do I do with my time? And maybe it's a coping mechanism for me. I wanted to stay busy and productive.
Mhm.
So I said, what's something I've always wanted to do? Write a book and publish it. And the topic is on helping modern women with dating. The book looks like this.
Mm.
It's
There
available
it
on
is.
it's available on Amazon. It's called Show Up: Finding Love for Independent Women. And I just knew that this was a topic that could help a lot of women because it just having conversations with women and also what I went through before meeting my husband of being a high performing woman, feeling confident in most areas of my life, work. I come from a good family, I have friends, I got hobbies, but why is this one particular slice of my life, that's the romantic part, so challenging for me? Like what's going on here?
Mhm.
What are my patterns? Why do I keep, being drawn to a particular type of person?
Mm.
And it was very it all comes from childhood stuff, when you dissect it. Why was it so painful for me when someone didn't choose me? So
Mm.
I went through my personal growth journey, and I just wanted to help women who are on that hamster wheel connect those dots because there's very I think there's a lot of dating advice out there, but there's very few podcasts and books that talk about how shitty it feels when you're going through it. The
Right.
frustration, the pain, especially as a high performer too, when you kind of feel like, or you show people that you always have your stuff together, and just
Mhm.
admitting, maybe this is an area in my life that I'm not good at. I have to learn some things.
Hmm.
So I knew exactly who I was talking to, so it just came out. I mean, I wrote it and published it within 3 months. It was so easy for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You knew exactly what to say and what people are probably thinking about and questioning at that point.
Yes. So in that sense, it was easy. The
Mhm.
feeling was similar for the calling for photography.
Mhm.
Was I was just very confident about it, and my goal with it was, if I could just help one person with this, I will actually feel really good. And money wise, I call my book sales like my smoothie money. So I have a really bad habit of going to Erewhon. If you don't live in LA and you don't know what Erewhon is, it's this obnoxious grocery store that is very expensive. I have a love-hate relationship with it. Everything when you go in is so symmetrical, and you do want to buy everything. Anyways, their smoothies cost about $20, and it's my guilty pleasure. So
Y-
I call it my smoothie money. My book sales are my smoothie, so I can buy my smoothies.
Love it. I
So
mean, why not?
yes. So yeah. So the book I wrote, and then based off the book, I started podcasting. So I thought I wrote about it, and now I want to talk about it. I want to
Mhm.
be more in front of the camera. Photography was always kind of behind the camera.
Mhm.
I want to build this skill of connecting with people and talking on camera and on a podcast. And it's been going well. I've learned so much. I built a lot of skill. I know where podcasting fits in my life, where I keep it for networking and for self expression. In, term,
Mhm.
in terms of career and making money, it takes a lot. You might know this already, but it takes a lot of energy to produce a podcast and have weekly episodes or even 2 podcasts a week. They recommend to grow. And I have some friends who their podcast is their main thing, and I see the amount of work it takes. And I got clarity that okay, I that's not what I want. I'm just going to keep it for this. So that kind of goes back to my point of knowing where things fit in if you're doing multiple things, because I
Yeah.
think you're not going to excel at anything if you're just doing too many things. So I usually tell people one thing has to be your dominant thing. And this is me kind of going through my midlife, like kind of finding myself again, going through the changes. And a lot of the times you don't know that until you start doing things, right? We did that a
Right.
lot in our teens and 20s where it felt like, you know, we had a little more time to do that. You could do that again. It feels a little different. I'm a little harder on myself. Like, are you doing the right thing? don't waste your time, don't waste other people's time. But that's part of it. Like you have to be a newbie again. It's comes with, like embarrassment sometimes and um, just being in a vulnerable space, but that's what it takes to up level, and have that growth.
Yeah, I love what you said about just being self-aware. Like being self-aware about why are you creating this podcast? What is it that you want to gain from this podcast? Or what is it that you want to create and be of service for this podcast, right? And I think knowing that will allow anyone to really get clarity as to how much time do I really want to spend in order to do XYZ with whatever it is that you're doing.
One
Um,
100%.
Yes. And I'm curious about this topic that your book is about, which is what you said, dating relationships for professional high performing women. What are some of like the overarching challenges or topics that you've come across?
Sure. So when women, well, actually, women or men, if you tend to be a high performer, the thing that drives you is
Mhm.
often things are never good enough. You know,
Mm,
you're never satisfied to a certain extent. And while that may be good for career and achievement, if that pours over to your personal life, you might feel like you have to earn love. It doesn't just show up and, oh, someone loves me for me. Oh, no, that's boring. No, like it feels very unfamiliar.
yeah.
High performers like to be in the climb, like that's where we thrive. And
Mm,
and so for a long time, I thought that I had to earn love. Like I couldn't just be me. I had to be the best version of me, happy all the time, serving, to the point where it wasn't even authentic. It was
mm,
performative. And I didn't understand what it meant to have a romantic partner that just loves you for you. You don't have to be super interesting. You don't have to do all these things. It's just like self-love. I'm a
yeah.
great person. It's the reasons your friends love you. Your
Right.
authentic friendships, not the transactional ones, the friendships where it's uh, quote unquote like useless. You just love the person for who they are, not because they have a podcast, not because
Yeah.
like my best friends, they don't care what I do for work at
Hmm.
all. At all. And that's my immediate friend circle, which I can count on one hand.
Hmm.
There's other friendships as well, work friends or, workout friends, things like that. So again, I think it's important to know where things fit in your life.
Mm. That's a good one. That is definitely something that I can relate to in the start of my current relationship. We're engaged now and we've been together for over 14 years. And at the start of it all, I'm like, why is he doing these things, or why is he so trusting, and why is we've only been together for this amount of time, like why is he doing all this? And now I understand, it's like, well, he just loves me for me, and that's why he's doing it, and it's okay, and it's not like I have to prove myself in order to get the type of love that he's giving me. And it did take time to really understand that, so you're right, I could totally relate to that.
What were some of your dating patterns before you met him? Did you have any?
I did. I had this pattern of expecting the other person to just know what I want,
Hmm.
without really communicating what it is that I want, even with myself. So that lack of clarity. And I did it because I didn't want to be disappointed. But
Ah,
yes, but at the same time, it's like I'm setting myself up for disappointment by not communicating it with my
yes,
partner.
yes.
So that's one pattern.
Okay. Did you have any other ones like that? Like you would choose emotionally available men? Was there anything like that? That seems to be a common one from the
Mm,
women that I talk,
um,
or
I
fixing, wanting to fix.
wanting to fix. I think I did have that. Um, I I think for a little bit I had that where I felt like I knew better. Um, and that the way that I see things was the quote unquote right way. So I need to teach them. I totally had that. What else? What other patterns did I have? I think those were it, but maybe I just haven't really further explored it as much as you have.
Okay. I mean, I did because it was just such a big problem for me. It was a very
Mhm.
my patterns were very clear, and they clearly were not working for me.
Mm.
So with the fixing for some time, it's actually when I started my personal growth journey, which I think is kind of common because once you get those ahas and you're really happy, you're like, oh, I want you to be happy too. You just have to go to this landmark course and read these
I
things.
know. Oh, I think I have one, Christine. I think my pattern was leaving, honestly.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I left a lot. I had one long relationship which lasted 8 years, and that was from high school to like a little after college, and we were on and off, on and off. And after that, I just kind of was dating. And whenever things got quote unquote a little weird or difficult, I would just leave. That was my pattern.
Okay. Was it
Mhm.
for self-protection or like fear of disappointment or fear of commitment?
No, it wasn't fear of commitment. It was protection. I
Okay.
kind of just wanted to not. I think I got so severely exhausted with my other relationship that I was sort of just like, I don't want to fall into that dynamic again. So it's a lot easier for me to just leave.
Got
And then
it.
I met my current partner, and he's not for that at all. He sometimes, I feel like sometimes he knows me better than I know myself. So he just does not let me, and he hasn't let me um just pull my little tricks that I used to pull.
Okay.
So yeah, it makes me sound so immature, but that's where I was at the at that time.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's uncommon either. And I love that it sounds like he'll fight for the relationship.
He will fight. Yes. He has fought and continues to fight for the relationship, and he's very adamant about making our relationship feel real. Like we're here not because we feel like we have to be for anybody else, but we wanted to feel good, and that doesn't mean that we're going to be in agreement with everything that we do. It doesn't mean we don't have any, conflict. It just means that we're here for the right reasons. And even though we're having challenges, we still love each other and trust each other.
That's a healthy relationship.
Aw.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love when people talk more about the imperfections and the fighting. It's just so, I mean, so many people feel alone these days, or, you're looking at people's highlights online. I, I
Yeah.
remind people, I'm like every single couple, including like Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, or like Amal Clooney and George Clooney, all
Yes.
of them have stuff. Being in a relationship, a long term relationship, it's not easy. And of course, stuff's going to come up.
Right.
Let's learning to navigate that.
Did you learn a lot from your parents when it comes to how you want to be in a relationship?
I learned how I don't want to be. So
Mm.
that was very helpful. So that kind of inspired me to dive into personal growth and seek out improving my communication and intimate relationships because I don't think it was modeled well for me growing up.
Mhm.
So I sought that out as an adult, and our parents they know what they know, and I just think of they grew up completely differently. I think of how they were raised, like how my grandparents raised them. Of course, they're not going to have the language to do certain things. They were just
Right.
never taught that. And I think it's part of maturing. At a certain point, you stop blaming your parents, and
Of
then you,
course.
you see them as human, and they're just living life for the first time too. So I focused on myself, the skills I wanted to learn. It served me well not only in my romantic life but also all my relationships, including my family, which tends to be the hardest one for a lot of people.
Mhm.
So having those difficult conversations with my parents about
Mhm.
things, I definitely have more capacity for that, and I do it in a healthier way. I mean, things still come up, of course, like yelling matches and things like that. I'm like, who is this that's coming out of me? I'm supposed to be this conscious person now. It comes out, but I think it's good that things come out. You know,
Yeah.
especially with Asians, sometimes we hold
Oh,
it
yeah.
in and suppress, and you know that just doesn't serve anybody, and it can cause disease
No.
in your body and all the things. But it also, I think, it fosters intimacy and intimate relationships because people have to see the impact they have on you. And if you're mad, if you're sad, if you're crying, and you repair that, and you're able to repair that, that is how you form intimate relationships, and that's how you have successful long-term marriages or partnerships, is learning to do that. And it's something I'm still learning. It's not easy
Mhm.
because I hold on to stuff for a really long time, and to let go, it's really hard for me.
Yeah, it's totally not easy. I can relate to you when it comes to my family as well, where things feel like it's more about hiding and sweeping things under the rug as opposed to meeting them head on. Um, and that's what I'm striving to do right now, is just kind of like, I don't want to say confront, but just meeting things with honesty and not putting them aside or putting them off, which now talking to you, I think that's where the habit of procrastination came from, is my family's inability to meet things head on as they come. Um, wow, that's pretty powerful. Um, and I think that as I incorporate like these new practices with my family, my hope is that they and my relationship with them continues to improve and get closer. Um, with you, what are some modalities that have helped you with this growth?
I usually remind people that different things work for different people, but for myself specifically, with my communication, this isn't for everyone. I did a program called Landmark Education, which is
I've heard of that.
you heard of it? Yeah, it's very. I think if you're a logical person, you might receive it well. So it's like a 3-day program, and it kind of, for me, it helped like just kind of crumble your stories. Like a lot of things we just think are true. It's this way. Just kind of crumbles everything. And for me, it really helped me have conversations specifically with my mom. I always had a tough time with my mom. We were just very different. She's a you Asian tiger mom, businesswoman. She was very tough on us growing up. I was a very sensitive kid. And then
Mm,
so for a lot of years, I resented her. We didn't have a very close relationship. I was had my guard up with her too because she was very critical, and it just didn't make me feel good, and I didn't know how to change that dynamic.
mhm.
And through doing the program, they helped because when people share stories, sometimes you could see yourself in those stories. So another guy had a similar problem as me, and uh, the coach or the teacher, I don't know what they call it, whoever was guiding the class,
Facilitator? Yeah.
yeah, facilitator, helped them and said, um, does your mom know that you love her?
Mm,
And he's like, yeah, I think so. And I was thinking the same thing for my son. I'm like, yeah, she should. And he's like, are you sure about that? And he's like, I think so. He's like, how are you going to really know? And he said, I can ask her. And he said, exactly, you can ask her. And
mm,
so I said, oh, that's me. So I guess that's how I open up the conversation with my mom. Call her. And then I don't normally talk like that. So it's weird, right? It's awkward. And I said, hey, mom, I'm doing this program and I just wanted to ask you a question. And she said, yeah, sure. I said, do you know that I love you? And I'm
mm,
getting teary. It's just awkward. And she paused and she said, no. She's like, no. She's like, I don't know it all the time. She's like, your sister, she's like, I feel like I have a different relationship with your sister. She's like, with you, I always had trouble understanding you. And
Mhm.
I have always felt like there was something that you didn't like about me or like you're against me. And then I heard the impact that I had on her. I'm like, oh my God, my mom doesn't know that I love her. Even though I felt she could be difficult at times like that, it made me really sad that she didn't know
Mhm.
that. Because I knew even through her toughness, I knew that she loved me.
Mhm.
And so that kind of opened up the conversation that we could talk about everything. And I just felt this lightness, that where I felt stuck.
Mm.
So that's one example, and so that helps me with my communication. I read a ton of books, Eckhart Tolle, Abraham Hicks, and
Mm.
when the podcast came out, Brene Brown, like all the
Yeah,
top like personal growth podcasts I would listen to.
those are
And
great.
so much information out there, right? And it's all free, which is amazing.
Mhm.
But I think the most effective has actually been doing work with others. So there was also conferences that I went to. There was one called A Fest, that's short for Awesomeness Fest, and it's kind of like Summit. Have you heard of Summit? Like Summit
I've
at
heard of
Sea.
Summit. Mhm.
So it attracts a certain type of I would say high performer. They describe it as Burning Man meets TED Talks. So there's like talks during the day
Mm.
on personal growth, but the person who started it, he said, he's like, I know the real networking and connections and difference starts actually after this formal stuff is done, not when we're sitting in an auditorium. It's afterwards when
Yeah.
we're at these events, when we're partying, and you start to open up.
Yeah.
That's actually when the connections start. So they're very intentional about creating these environments where it's not only fun but there's depth to it. And the people who tend to attend these things, they value growth, and you find your people. It also attracts, some people are genuine, some aren't. It's like in any industry or anything you go to.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you find your people, and the people I've met through those conferences I'm still really close with, and I love them so much. But so I think it's also important to be discerning with those things too, and because there's a lot of internet marketing and ads coming through. I think it's a good idea to get a referral from a friend who's been to something before. That's how I like to do it.
That's a good
Um,
point. Yeah.
yeah, just to kind of read. I mean, for example, like at some of these conferences, some people will be really great on stage, and then I see them get off stage and they're married, but they're hitting on people, cheating on their spouse. And to
Mm.
me, that's out of integrity. I'm like, why would I listen to your advice if you
Right.
can't even be in integrity in this part of your life?
Yeah.
And sometimes that takes a while to learn. Some people are really good at putting on a certain facade, and it takes a while to know people. But you do, you find your peeps, and I found mine. But I am, now that I'm getting older, I am becoming more particular about who I want around me and close to me, because, as you know, you become who you surround yourself with. So
Oh,
again,
for sure.
placing them appropriately.
Yeah, that's a great point. You are the 5 people that you spend your most time with, right? So it's so important to be aware of who you are placing around you and who you're listening to. So I completely relate to that. Who would you say are like your biggest influences or sources of inspiration that help you with your work and also like your personal growth?
Lots of people. One that comes to mind recently. Do you know Caesar Milan? He's a dog trainer.
I
Mhm.
don't. I
Okay,
don't.
he used to have a show called The Dog Whisperer.
Oh wait, I do know. Yes,
Okay,
yes. I
okay,
didn't know
yeah,
that was his name.
yes. So I followed him for a long time, and I did a workshop with him recently. We have a couple dogs, so you go in for dog training, but through his teachings, what drew me to him is there's a spiritual aspect to him. It's not just dog
Mm.
training, like you give a dog a treat and they just sit for the treat. He's a dog psychologist. He's very intuitive, and he could read a room so quick. And
Mhm.
it's more about spirit and being in tune with yourself.
Yeah.
I thought I had high self awareness. Your self awareness has to be impeccable in order to be with dogs well. Just like some
Mhm.
people, have you heard of, they'll train with horses because, horses are very sensitive to your nervous system and they can sense your
Wow.
energy and how you're being. So you could do the same thing with dogs because they don't lie. Caesar
Yeah.
he'll walk into a house and he'll say, "I'll look at the dog and I'll know exactly who everyone is in this house based on the dog." Because they don't
Wow.
lie. They respond to energy and instinct. That's all it is. So
Mm.
anyways, in terms of spiritual practice, it's, the dogs are part of it, but it's through the dogs that he uses for spiritual practice, and I really resonate with that. And I
Mm.
just really love dogs too. And he's also the real deal. When I met him, I wasn't sure. I was like, is he going to be how he is on his YouTube videos and his shows? And he is so impressive. His energy. He teaches calm, confident, love, joy. Very simple,
Mm.
but very few people can embody all four of those. But he has it. A lot of people are strong in two of them. I think mine's calm, confident. I could
Mhm.
nurture more love, joy, but his energy, like he shows up in a way that I'm very drawn to him. He could change the energy in a room, and very genuine, and he's interested in other people. I'm sensitive about that. Like people who they're not interested in others. It's just like, this is me. This is my teachings, and
Mhm.
I'm very turned off by that. But he's just like a very kind, genuine person who wants to do better, and I feel it. So he's
Mm.
definitely very inspiring to me. I'm inspired by anyone who's just very passionate about their work.
Mhm.
I think that's passionate and authentic, because I think when you're authentic, especially these days, people are automatically drawn to you because there's just so. I think a lot of people just have their guard up in general, and everything's so watered down now that.
Mhm.
And people are lonely, and that's how you connect with someone. It's relieving when you see someone actually authentic because it gives you permission. Okay, like I can admit some things that aren't working out in my life right now. I don't have it all together, and those coaches are, um, or inspirational people are the ones that I trust
Mhm.
the most. Not someone who knows everything, because no one really knows fully what they're doing. Okay.
No, and if someone claims to, run away. That's
Exactly. Exactly.
what would you say is authentic? And the reason why I ask that question is because this term authentic is widely used nowadays, and it can sometimes get mixed up with even like rude or I don't like obnoxious or being okay with not being accountable with your actions. Am I making sense? So what do you think like true authenticity really is?
That's an excellent question, because I've actually never thought about it. I was like, you feel it. You feel it when someone's authentic.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, I have seen examples where, especially on social media, and you hear the word a lot now, like authentic,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
but it seems like a curated authenticism, where, for
Mhm.
example, it might be a vulnerable video where they're upset or crying about something, but it seems a little too controlled.
Yeah.
Where I think when it's a little too controlled like that, people they pick up on that. For me, I'm just, it might be true. What they went through might
Mhm.
be true, and their feelings are real, but there's almost a performative aspect when it comes to like that. I actually don't consider that fully authentic. I
Mhm.
do think vulnerable is a big part of it,
Mhm.
and if we're talking about like sharing those stories and things like that, I think it's easier to share things once you've processed them, gone through it, and then come out of it already, which is more of like
Mm,
a lighter vulnerability. So there is
yeah.
value to it, and you
Yeah.
can create like a blueprint for people. But I think true vulnerability is in the moment where, just say I'm hopping on this podcast, I'm feeling a little like insecure, or make sure you have something valuable to say, like don't look stupid, like admitting all those things.
Mhm.
I am drawn to that because it's real and it's present and it's in the moment.
Right.
So that's kind of how I view authentic, what's true to you. But at the same time, and this is something I'm working on, you said it can come off as rude. And
Mhm.
I
And that's totally subjective.
You're right.
I totally own that. Um, that's my viewpoint. I just sometimes see people saying that they're authentic, and at the same time they're like in my mind they're like bashing other people. So I'm like, what's the point of your authenticity at this point? Is it to just I don't know, grieve or complain? Like, what is the point of this authenticity that you are claiming to be communicating?
Right. I think there's
Mhm.
another set of values that comes with authentic, because they might be being like honest and real. I
Mhm.
think having tact, being kind isn't
Mhm.
necessary what you're saying right now. How are you impacting others right now?
Right.
I think having an awareness of that, and we all have our moments. I've become very sensitive actually when people are completely not self-aware or disregard how they may be impacting others. And
Mhm.
I know I'm guilty of it too, and maybe I won't know, and if I'm lucky, someone will say something to me, so I'll know like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I forget not everyone talks the way I do, or not everyone
Right.
feels the same way I do about something. So I think it's really good to have people in your life who will tell you those things. So you remember
Yeah.
everyone's different too. Embracing where you are. I will say right now, I'm a little more direct with things, because with boundaries, I realize I always thought I was really tight with my boundaries, and recently, in recent years, I realized there's some things I actually want to tighten up.
Yeah.
And so my no's right now, there's a lot of no's, and they're very direct, and that can come
Mm.
off to some people like, whoa, okay, a little intense.
Yeah.
And it's where I'm at. Maybe I'm in my healing stage of that, and I think I'll soften a little bit. But right
Mhm.
now, if something doesn't feel in line with me, or I genuinely don't want to do it, it is very important for me to honor that and communicate that to the other person. I do
Mm.
think having tact and being gentle with it. I mean, some of my friends, I could just say no, period, and it's fine. They
Yeah.
talk the same,
Yeah.
but with others, like no, I can be polite about it and just say like, oh no, I can't make it. Thanks for inviting
Mhm.
me.
Mhm. That's such a compassionate way to communicate with others. Is to think about how they would receive it. And I understand that sometimes that's not always possible, or given specific contexts of where you both are at.
You're right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I do have. I'm sorry, did I just cut you
No,
off?
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to give an example of, yeah, right now, I'm at a point in my life where friendships start changing. Whenever priorities shift, when people have kids or they get into a
Yeah.
relationship, all of us, so things are changing. And something that's come up recently, because I am a very direct speaker, I I have a friend who is the opposite of that, and she admits it. She's soft. She's like, I like shooting stars and rainbows, and when I text, and all shooting stars, all those emojis, and it's very more flowery the way she
Yeah.
communicated. And I realized through the years that I was overly catering to making her feel comfortable with how she likes to talk, to the point where it wasn't me. Like I couldn't relax.
Yes.
I had to think. I had to think hard before we'd communicate. So there wasn't this natural rhythm to the way
Mm.
that we would communicate. And it's not her fault at all. It was me that
No.
like I accept her for her, but there also needs to be reciprocated that
Yes.
they accept you for you as well. And you
Yes.
know, my I think at the core, my heart is good. My intentions are good, and I'm a kind person. I never mean to hurt anybody. And it's just different styles, almost like East Coast way of talking versus West
Yeah.
Coast. It's just different. And
Yeah.
so for me, I'm much more unwilling now to make,
Mhm.
like if some people feel uncomfortable with it, I'm a lot more unapologetic about it. Like,
Yeah.
this is just who I am. I know my intentions aren't bad. We've been friends for a long time. And if it's still a problem, maybe it's, the friendship dynamic might change, or we won't be as close, or we won't hang out as much. And that's okay.
That's okay.
But just really
Yeah.
just honoring who I am without being a total dick.
Right.
Like, like, this is me. You have to take it. But just, yeah, I feel good about who I am, and I want to feel like I'm me, while considering others. But what is me? I'm
Yes, what
embracing
is
that
you?
more and more. Hmm.
What is you, and what is you right now, and being okay with what you're going to be 10 years from now, 15 years from now, because one thing that will always be true is change. E- People change, the world changes. So being okay with that is super important and really helpful when it comes to being able to understand others and yourself. I think that what I'm able to understand from our conversation is that you are the type of person who has like really taken what she's learned from her family, her surroundings, um, the work that you did with your parents, the person who you are right now, your friends. You've been able to take all of that and really learn from it and create the life that you're living right now, because it's not like you threw away everything that you learned from working with your parents. You mentioned that that has actually helped you be able to make money easily. So for me, that's you taking the gold, you picking and choosing what you want to continue to use as your tools in your life right now. So that's beautiful. And I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to recognize that in you.
Thank you so much. I do. I love to learn, and I think it's a nice way to view things, so you don't feel regrets. I don't believe in regrets. That, like, everything you can learn something from it,
Yeah.
and grow from it, and it puts you where you are today. So, I am very grateful for that. And even, stuff with parents, a lot of people have stuff with their parents. And I mean, at the very least, they're the reason why you're here. And I've never given birth, I'm not a mom, but just if you have given birth, you know how much sacrifice it takes, and pain and all that, to, you know, birth you into the world
Yeah.
and raise you, so that you're here because of them, because your mom chose your dad and you get to be here.
Yeah. I mean, one of the topics that you mentioned, and I think we kind of touched on it already, is this relationship with your parents, about how important it is to heal or to start that healing process, because it does affect your professional life and just your life in general. What would be your advice to people who haven't quite taken that leap or that step yet? um how do they go about doing that, instilling some bravery and vulnerability in them?
Yeah, for me, what helped was, one, getting clear on my feelings of
Mhm.
what exactly was coming up for me. And I did have some blind spots too.
Mhm.
Like, I'll give you one example. With my dad, I always thought I had a really close, good relationship with him.
Mhm.
Daddy's girl. He understands me. We don't even have to talk. He knows what I need. He knows what I'm feeling. And I failed to realize when I became adult. So my parents are divorced.
Mhm.
They owned a company together. They're good business partners, but they divorced when I was 12.
Mhm.
And since then, I've said it hundreds of times. My parents are divorced. My parents are divorced, and I had never acknowledged that it was actually very painful for me.
Mm.
And I didn't know this until the first time I did therapy. And the therapist was amazing. It was the first question she asked me, "Are your parents together or divorced?" I said,
Mhm.
Divorced." And then she didn't say anything, and she just sat back and gave me space to continue talking. And that's when the tears came. And,
Mm.
and for me, and that a lot of these moments came up in therapy where I said, I didn't know that that bothered me. I was so
Mm.
disconnected from how I felt. Used to just stuffing things down or
Yeah.
disassociating. Like, I did not know that bothered me. So at some point, I realized I actually was really mad and sad with the whole divorce and what my dad did, because he did some things that were out of integrity, and that's why my parents got divorced. But to me,
Mm.
he was always like a good guy, and I realized I had to acknowledge that. And so
Mhm.
when I had that clarity, I knew what I wanted to say to him. And for him, I wrote him a letter. I wrote him an email because sometimes my thoughts come out more clear in email and
Mhm.
in letter form. And also, he's ESL, so I thought it just might be better this way.
Mhm.
And with the clarity, it just came out. And I said, "Hey, Dad, I love you a lot, and this doesn't change how I feel about you. But I just want you to know, and I brought up divorce, and I said, it's not that you didn't think about mom, but you also didn't think about me and Crystal. Crystal's my sister. I said,
Mm.
you didn't think about your family, and it was really hurtful, and you never said sorry." And I said,
Mm.
and I said, uh, this doesn't change anything between us. I just want you to know that. And at this point, when you go through personal growth, like I wasn't even crying or super sad. I realized, and then I sent it off, and I kind of forgot about it. Um, and the next time I went to visit in the Bay Area, I walked into their company, and I walked to my dad's office, and I saw the impact that it had on him. I had
Mm.
his shoulders like, were a little down, and then he almost couldn't look at me.
Mm.
And then he's like, "I don't know why I'm so emotional right now. I'm so sorry." And
Oh. Mm.
and that was a really huge moment for me because it made me realize how important it is for me to tell people how I feel and the impact that they have on me.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my
So
gosh.
yeah, so you're never in control of how the other person's gonna take it. I
Mm.
actually didn't expect him to do anything. I'm Asian old Chinese man, like, okay, okay.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
saw the impact, and he hugged me for a little longer than he usually does.
Mhm.
And then from there, it helped me with all relationships, my romantic
Mm.
life. Yeah, just it was just so much lighter after that. And it might seem like something's not a big deal, like, "Oh, it's in the past, it's okay, I get it, I understand now why he did it," or, and we sometimes do things to justify things, but
Right.
we fail to acknowledge our pain and how it impacted us.
Yeah.
And so that yeah, that was huge. And now, having conversations, like vulnerable conversations with them is really easy now.
Wow. That was such a big step because, I mean, if you can't be honest with the people who love you the most in the world, then who can you be honest with?
It's right.
Right?
If you can master that one,
Yes.
everything else is a breeze.
Cakewalk. Yes.
Oh my god, it's yeah. And so yeah, that was huge for me. And there's still things that come up. It's not like all of a sudden you do it and everything's like
Oh,
smooth
no.
sailing. Things come up with my dad recently with boundaries and with work stuff. My mom retired, about a year and a half ago, and he's wanting me to help him again. He likes to work with family. He doesn't really trust outside of
Mhm.
family, like pretty Asian. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's been multiple boundaries talks with him,
Mhm.
me bursting into tears, being frustrated. But it's definitely it's easier for me. I'm not afraid to show 'em, like,
Mm.
"Yeah, I'm not happy right now, and you're not being considerate of others." I can show them all of that, and it's always a mixed bag of feelings, right? Because our parents are
It
getting
is.
older, right? They're getting older. I always think, like, what if they die? Am I good? How am I gonna feel about how I showed up with them? That's always been a good gauge for me in thinking about how I wanna show up with people if they die. How will I feel about this? But it's always a work in progress, you know? It's life
It is
stuff.
life. Damn, just kidding. Well, I really appreciate this conversation with you, Christine. And to start wrapping things up, even though I wish we could keep talking, what advice would you give to people in the AAPI community who do want to explore something that's outside the realms of their family or cultural expectations?
Yeah, just be prepared that some people might be disappointed. They might not understand you and possibly never understand you. And I think being okay with that is very helpful. I think, I mean, this is kind of stereotype, but with agents, I think we're pretty practical with money. But in general, yeah, if you're working a full time job, just, I mean, there's some videos out there that say, like, just quit your job and pursue your dreams. Be smart about it.
Yeah, that's
Have a
not for
plan.
everybody, guys.
Right? Have a plan, and and you're going to be working a lot, probably more than if you have a 9 to 5 job. But the difference is it's going to be for you. You're going to have to take on a lot more responsibility. Everything's up to you. If anything goes wrong, it's on you. You set the tone for your employees. Uh, and so there's the flip side of it too. So to consider that, so there's a different kind of stress that comes with entrepreneurship. Do you want that
Mhm.
responsibility? But I definitely encourage, especially if you're not happy in your job.
Mhm.
A lot of us are raised to be a little more practical. Like, work is work, and it doesn't matter if you enjoy it or not.
Mhm.
So either you flip the way that you see your job, or if it's really screaming at you that it's just not what you want to do, the self-awareness is huge. Like, where are your skills and what are you good at?
Yes.
Because that's something to consider too. It's not just go after your dreams. Like, it's really competitive out there.
Yeah.
So do you have that edge? Like with photography, there's a ton of photographers out there. But do you love it enough, and do you have that drive where you're willing to work harder than others? And when it's lucky when you love it, because it doesn't feel as hard of work, it doesn't feel, but there are going to be the moments where you don't love it all the time. I think that's part of it. Your things aren't always
Yeah.
sparkly.
Yeah.
I
I
feel
mean,
like.
when we first logged in, right? You were telling me that you're working on banking stuff. Like, who, a common person, especially entrepreneurs and creatives, like, we don't want to deal with that type of stuff. But you have to if you're going after your entrepreneurial dreams, right? It's necessary. So just being realistic about all the other things that you might have to do, that's not super exciting. But that's the true with jobs as well, right? There's aspects about a job that you're not really keen on either.
Yeah, absolutely. With everything, right? There's the
Mhm.
bright side and there's the flip side of it. Same thing with, like, relationships. Your favorite thing about your partner
Mhm.
is also going to be the thing that annoys you a lot about
Mm.
him or her.
Amen. That is so true. So I think what you've shared is helpful in terms of just these are the things that you should be aware of, right? If you do end up wanting to pursue your creative, artistic, entrepreneurial dreams or just even curiosities. And I like the openness that you gave too, where you can do the whole quit your job thing right away. Or you can also do another path, which is maybe start as a hobby, right? And slowly move away from your job. That's a possibility as well.
Yeah, I actually think that's a very smart approach. Start as a hobby, and as you do it more and more, see how you feel. And again, a lot of these things you won't know until you start doing them, right? Do
Mhm.
it, adjust, do it, adjust. But I definitely think it's worth going after. Just they interview people on their deathbed of
Oh
like,
my god.
what's their number one regret, and a lot of them say it's not living a life true to me. I
Mm,
wish I did more of what I actually wanted to do.
yes, let's learn from our elders and listen to that piece of advice. So, Christine, what's next for you? Are there any upcoming projects or things that are exciting you right now that you're working on?
Yeah, well, right now I'm kind of in pause mode where I'm a big doer, but to the point where sometimes I keep myself too busy that I don't stop to think and be with myself. So I'm kind
Mm.
of more. I'm doing my current work, the photography, helping my dad a bit with marketing and branding. My family's really important to me, so I'm clear on how I want to help him. And my book sales are going. I keep my podcast for networking and self expression. And something I want to do in the near future, I do because I love writing. I do want to write some screenplays and produce
Ooh.
some films. But right now, it feels forced right now. I started writing some scripts, but the feeling's very important to me. That
Mm.
that it comes through the work, so it's not like just write a script, just write a script. I have to feel it. So right now, I'm doing a lot of self care. I'm going to my dance classes, doing yoga. Um, yeah, focusing more on connecting to myself to keep that connection because I think it starts from there. If I feel disconnected, things just don't feel right, and I really try to go after what feeling right instead of wait, what is it? Feeling good instead of getting things right.
Mm. I like that. Because when you feel good,
It
it
doesn't
will result in.
right? It doesn't matter what things look like. I'm like, if I'm happy, I feel good, it's good. Because you could have the result and not feel good. I'm like,
I
what's
know.
the point of that?
Yeah, and then you can't even savor in what you've worked for when you're not feeling good.
Right. That at that point, it's like, what's the point?
Yes. Oh, well, that's great. I'm happy for you that you're in that place, that you're able to enjoy that experience, that part of your life. Well, thank you so much, Christine, for your time, the energy, and all of the advice that you gave us. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with that you might not have the chance to?
No, I are you gonna leave websites or Instagram handles on the bottom if anyone wants?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Why don't you share your Instagram handle and
Oh,
basically the
sure.
best way for people to learn more about you?
Yeah, I think Instagram's a good starting point. It's my handle is C Chang and Co. That's C and then CHANG and Co. And I think that's a good starting place. You could send me a DM there, and then there's links to all my stuff.
Amazing. And as a reminder, Christine has a book that's available on Amazon,
Yeah.
and she also has a podcast. So visit her Instagram handle. I'll make sure to provide all of the links to her resources in the show notes as well. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Christine. We'll see you next time.